Hello, everybody, and welcome to Truth Proof. Hello, Les.
Hi, Paul. Great to be on the show again.
Absolutely, and as we say every week, it soon comes round, doesn't it? And already I can see we're generating a few people in chat. Thanks for support, guys. We're off towards 100 people already, and I'm not surprised, actually, because we've got an incredible guest tonight.
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind me saying veteran UFO researcher of unexplained phenomena, over 50 years in the field of a lot of it boots on the ground, as well as deep kind of historical and archive research. So Tom Dongo is a man of immense knowledge, and I'm so pleased to be talking to him. I've been chasing him for months and months to try and get him onto the show, so I'm so pleased.
Okay, can I just mention to the audience that Tom may not be with us for the 2 hours. He may be, but if you've got any questions coming in, we'll run them at the top of the hour, I think, Paul.
Absolutely,
just to see where we're going time-wise. So, yeah, questions in for Tom. We'll get them out at the top of the hour. And have we got anybody moderating? I think Alison will be in later.
We may have Alison. If we haven't, we'll definitely have Rivington Pike in shortly. I would have
Lee's in. Yeah, I can see Lee's in.
So that's good. Yeah. And just before I move away from Tom, is also the author of several incredible books, including Alien Tide and Merging Dimensions. And that one, Merging Dimensions, Unseen Worlds, is one that I really recommend, because we're going to be talking about the Bradshaw Ranch, which is akin to Skinwalker, and the Hoya Baku Forest and Bempton and all them places where true unexplained phenomena presents, like the location is key. So before we get Tom on, Les, let's have a look what we got in chat now. Let's have a look. And I'm not going to get through all these names, people. I say it every week. So we've got Matthew Cook, the Disabled Welshman, Scotch Mist, Chris Mack. Let's have a look. Sober Carper, Stephen Collins, Beer Monster. I like that name a lot, Beer Monster. Awake, Zeno, Stephen, Andrew Sheehan, Bumps in the Night, Moondog, Tom Waters. Hi, Tom. Al Durham, good to see you, Al. Jojo, let's have a look. And we've got Lee doing the moderating, Rivington Pike Beast. Richard Crooks, I've not seen Richard in before, so good to see you, Richard. And as I say, Phil Morgan, and every time I say I'm not going to say another name, Susan Wiseman, another one comes up. There's Linny in, Pete will be in, Mia Girl will be in, and Dragonborn's in, Scotch Mist. I've got to stop. Let's bring Tom onto the show, yeah?
Yeah, I've just seen two more, Debbie Shaw and Yorkshire Puffin. And
Yorkshire Puffin.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'll disappear. I'll come back with any questions later on in the show, Paul.
Thank you.
We'll bring our guest on for tonight.
Excellent. And Tom, welcome to Truth Proof.
Well, it's my pleasure. Totally. I was just telling you guys, you are my 104th show of being on worldwide radio, so it's always a pleasure. I love it.
Absolutely. We're so looking forward to what you're going to have to share with us tonight, Tom, and whether it's an hour or whether it runs over, it'll be well worth listening to, I can assure you. And we want questions in capitals from people in chat if you've got anything that you want to ask Tom, because he'll be a font of knowledge. And I previously said, seasoned UFO researcher, unexplained phenomena. Would you call it multi-phenomena research, Tom? Or is there one item of this genre that you specialize in?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I usually just call it paranormal, because it covers everything. It's because I've gotten into everything. You name it, I've been in it. So it's it just in generalities, I just say paranormal.
Yep, excellent. So if we were to jump right back, then where did it start for you, Tom? Where did this interest first get sparked?
Well, I was in the snow ski business for a long time, and I had a store in Reno, Nevada. And what started this whole thing for me, because I had no interest whatsoever in the paranormal before this, none, zero. So, and this is a true story. I'm not making this up, because I've run into other people that have had the same thing happen. So I'm not crazy. I really am not. So anyway, we would take a lunch hour, a whole hour, and I would go for a walk during the day. And I was walking down the street one day, and a pair of giant hands grabbed me. I mean, from my shoulders down to my hips, that big, and like this, and was steering me down the street. And so I thought, what the heck, I'll just see what happens, go along with it. And so I got to a parking lot. The hands turned me into this parking lot. We're going through the cars, and get to a bookstore, go through the door, and I'm being navigated down through the aisles. And then I'm way back to the back of the store, and there's all these used books. And the hands bend me over, and I'm looking right at a book, Seth Speaks by Jane Roberts. So anyway, I picked it up, and I ended up spending 6 months studying it. It's an incredible book. Seth, it was a channel book from Seth was a super intelligence from somewhere.
Right.
So I spent, that's what got me into this whole thing. And
Absolutely. Well, you just stole one of my questions, because the unseen hands was going to be one of my questions. So that's brilliant. We've got to it.
Yeah.
Now, this is a channeled book, and what have you done any channeling yourself then, Tom?
Yeah, I used to
put you on that path.
Yeah, I've done everything. You name it, I've done. I used to teach channeling, and I was good at it. I got a quick story I got to tell you.
Take your time, Tom.
Yeah. So there was a medical doctor that was, I was charging $5 a class, and he learned what I taught him, and he went into business for himself. It was basically about energy. One of the things I taught was energy, how to use energy and whatnot. And he opened this. I can't remember the name of it now, but he charged $10,000 per person.
Wow.
He did so well. I'm using what I taught him. He bought a yacht in the Mediterranean, and that's the last I heard of him. But at any rate, yeah, I used to professionally channel, and I've had some amazing experiences with channeling. So but yes, I did. It fascinated me for a long time, channeling. Yeah.
So would we be calling the beings, the intelligences then that you connected with, aliens in the true sense of the word? Did you ever find out where they were from, or were it diverse?
Excuse me. I never really knew. As long as it was all positive, information, I really didn't care. And I channeled many beings, but if it ever got negative, and it never did, not once, I would have cut it off instantly. Yeah. But it was always good information, positive, helpful stuff. So any being that came along, and people used to think, oh, you're nuts, Tom, for doing being that open. When I was younger, I had a real serious reputation as being reckless with everything I did. Yeah. So.
What would, I mean, obviously you've been doing this a long time, but what would be something of note, of interest that you were given, information that you were given, and not necessarily that came true, but there were similarities, or it were brought to fruition? Did they give you messages, or?
Yeah, it really depended. I can't remember anything in particular, but it usually have to do with the person that was asking the questions. In generalities, I never. I'm trying to think of something, but I've saved a few lives. Some of the information has saved lives.
Really?
Yeah. So anyway, I was I did channeling, taught channeling for a couple of years, but I had days that were really bad. And one of my friends right now, and I'm going to see her Sunday. She's probably the best channel in the world. She's a trance channel, Summer Bacon, and I consider her. I don't know of any other channel on this planet. She channels a being named Dr. Peebles. He died in about 1938, and I've known Summer for 22 years, and I've disagreed with Dr. Peebles a few times. It's really. She's really channeling a deceased person, and
And
so
does her personality alter when she's doing this as well?
Yeah, she completely changes personality completely.
Yeah,
she turns into a man. She's I've been dealing with Dr. Peebles off and on for about 22 years. I've known her for 22 years. And I don't know if any channel in the world is better than she is. And I would know because I taught it. But, there was one time I doubted her. I wanted to prove that she wasn't hoaxing, because some do. They just, they're channeling their subconscious, or they're just faking, So I have, the University of California, Berkeley. I'm such a weird guy. I have such strange abilities. The University of California, Berkeley wanted me to come there. They wanted to study me for 2 weeks. They were going to pay all expenses paid because I have such strange abilities. So I didn't go because I knew it had to do a lot with hypnosis, and I'm not crazy about hypnosis. I'm really not. So, but Summer. So anyway, one time we have this private session. I'm able to. I was taught at the Berkeley Psychic Institute.
Okay. How
to probe somebody. I could go right into their mind, and I got good at it. So she was channeling one day, and this happened twice. I did this with another channel, famous, and so Summer was channeling. She was in trance channeling Dr. Peebles. So I went into her mind and scanned. I can scan like radar. And Dr. Peebles stopped. He looked at me. He said, "Tom, I really wish you'd stop doing that because it makes it really hard for me to channel through Summer." So I thought, so that proved to me that she was on the level, So I said, "Yeah, okay, no problem."
Absolutely, yeah.
And I got endless stories. You guys got me on the show. It's never gonna end.
No. It's all good. And how does channeling differ from remote viewing then?
Yeah, that's a good question. And remote viewing and out of body is another one. I get asked that all the time. It's not, all three of them. They're not the same. Not even similar. Because I did out of body once, and it scared the hell out of me, to tell you the truth. Because this guy was teaching remote out of body, and I went out of body, and it scared me so damn bad. I got back into my body, and it slammed. I slammed into my body, and it hurt.
Right.
So I've never tried it again, but I did get out of my body, and we was going to go tripping somewhere.
So it's not something that you'd want to do again, then?
It's if it was controlled, somebody that. They're like this ayahuasca drug. I tried it once. You don't want to take that stuff by yourself, but it's a Peruvian drug, and if you're in all these people go to Peru in the jungle and they take ayahuasca, and there's always a guide, but so that's that sort of thing. You've got to have somebody that knows what they're doing.
Do you know something, Tom? We don't promote drugs as such, but ayahuasca is something under some kind of supervision. Somebody who used it and I don't know, are qualified to use it. If there is such a person, I would love to try it because I mean they call it the spirit molecule, don't they? The vine of the dead, and people seem to have a certain type of experience using ayahuasca.
Yeah.
And it's almost a spiritual experience. I mean, you probably know a lot more about this than me.
Yeah, well, ayahuasca, I'm not drugs is these days it's civilization's downfall. Drugs are out of control. The illegal drugs, it's horrible. But I lived in Berkeley in California in the 60s, the wild 60s, the days of the flower children, and when in the beginning drugs were fun. I did a lot of them. I did psychedelic drugs, and then they got illegal for pretty good reasons. But it sure was fun in the beginning. It really was, and I knew Timothy Leary, and I knew the college professor that was the LSD guy. And I did some psychedelic drugs, and I will say that it is part of the reason why I wouldn't advocate this ever.
No way,
never. But it does open your mind to other things, other consciousness or other realms. It really does. Because I know, because I did it, but I would not. You know, my experience with ayahuasca was terrifying. So I don't recommend any drug to anybody anytime, because they don't want to have the same kind of experience I had. It was terrifying.
That's good advice, Tom. Absolutely. And just to push you on that, and you might not want to, it was terrifying. What was the experience?
I took it. I had about 6 hours of nightmares, nonstop nightmares with it. And I've talked to a lot of people that do ayahuasca regularly, and they say, "Oh no, it's wonderful. You know, I do it all." You know, I've been to Peru and I've done all this stuff. So I just, I don't know. You know, my body reacts different to everything. I mean, everything. So something that's a miracle for one person is not for me.
No, that's good. It's good. So, okay then, Tom, I'll just let you get a drink.
Yeah.
What about tools? And when I say tools, I mean things such as CE5, meditation, to contact these unknown others. Is there anything that you've tried or you've had success with? And I'm not advocating a Ouija board either, but
no. Stay away from a damn Ouija. Don't ever touch a Ouija board.
But if you've got any stories about the Ouija board, we don't use them.
Yeah, okay.
Stories that to put people off, share them with us.
No, don't ever. No, I want to say don't ever. And I'm talking to anybody and everybody. Don't ever touch a Ouija board. There's something about Ouija boards that's evil. And I don't know what it is, but I've had a lot of experience, with it.
Right.
And Ouija boards open you to other realms that are not positive. I don't understand, but I've seen it many times. And so I say it always. Stay away from Ouija boards. They're don't even try it. They're not. It's not worth it.
And I would agree. I would agree, Tom. But do you think it's the fact that there's so many bad experiences, or people who've had bad experiences with these things?
Yeah.
But it's the mind. We go into it expecting a bad experience.
Yeah. Exactly. So a lot of the things we experience are because of human fear. It's generated something. And as far as I'm concerned, Satan and the devil don't exist. It's a creation of religion, and I'll stick with that.
Yeah.
But there is, I've been called one of the world's best remote viewers, and I am. I've proved it. Remote viewing is I've tried to teach it to millions of people free on the internet, because I would like to see. I can see things that I think I'm getting off the subject a little bit here.
No, we don't Ouija boards, but it doesn't matter. I knew you weren't comfortable with Ouija boards talking anyway, so we stay with remote viewing.
Yeah, well, I if I was younger, I would love to spend the rest of my life teaching remote viewing. And I for 2 years, myself and Maureen St. Germain, she's one of the world's best-selling authors, and she and I taught remote viewing. And she taught the military version, and she would joke that I was teaching the Tom Dongo version because I was born with remote viewing, a remote viewing ability. I had it. So. We had great success.
Do you think then, Tom, just like in athletics, and it will make sense in a moment, that people are born with certain abilities? Like some people were born to be the best runners in the world. Some people were born with more advanced psychic abilities. So no amount of training could make you as good as the person who was the genetic superior, if you like, of the psychic, the remote viewing world.
Well, I've this ability I have, I really wish most of the people that around here that I used to play, people I don't have anybody to play with anymore.
No,
but you get together with another remote viewer that's as good as you are, and it's a breathtaking experience.
Where do you set targets where you'd want to go?
Yeah. You can, but you can go into the future or you can go into the past. I go into the past and just, actually, I go to a Saxon village in England, 1,000 years ago, and just sit there. And
is it I'm not saying it's easy, Tom, please understand that, but is it as easy as an intermind connection? There's no, you just, are you there in a thought process? There's no actual traveling takes place. The mind just arrives.
No. Well, you know, you're well, see, you know, when I teach remote viewing, you know, I mean, a lot of people charge $5,000 per person to teach remote viewing. And, you know, so I've literally been on shows with millions of listeners, and I took time to try to teach them, because I would like to see millions of people have the ability I have. Because for one thing, the world, excuse me, the world would be a different place, but because there would be no secrets.
No.
So
it could be a more hostile place if there were no secrets and we found some things out we didn't want to find out. Do you think?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know, I've solved murders. You know, I talk about this stuff, but I don't do it anymore.
No,
I've solved murders, and I healed a girl of 4th stage cancer just to see if I could do it, but I am not in the business of healing cancer. I'm not. I just you know, being 80 years old, I don't have the energy for one thing, but I've done it.
Well, just so okay then. So before we just move away from remote viewing, does it take a lot of energy out of you?
No. There, you know, it's so simple for me, at least. Some people think, oh, I've got to go into this, you know, trance and all that BS, you know, but you don't. It's so easy. I can do it driving down the road in a car and just change my thought process and project it. So it's you know, and I've challenged. I've been on these shows that you know, I've challenged the best remote viewers in the world, and I know most of them to prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. You know, you prove me wrong. That's the end of it. I'm not going to, you know, you're right. I'm wrong. So, but it's never happened.
No.
So yeah. So yeah.
So just briefly then, because I'd like to talk about the Bradshaw Ranch. But what about I'm not sure it was a UFO, but what about the red object that you saw when you were it 22 years old?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's so minor but yeah, I was about, I guess probably in my late teens the first time that happened. I lived in Maine, you know, New England, and I was walking out of the house one night and I looked up, and I've seen about 400 UFOs now. We'll talk about that later, but it was fluttering like a feather. It was red, bright red, and it had been raining, and there was an opening in the clouds. And this thing was fluttering, red thing. It was more and more of a disc shape. And so that was the first time. And the second time, now that I know, I've done some incredibly stupid things in my life. I think back because I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. Now I do. But anyway, so anyway, I went. I another night I went out and I saw this red light. And there was a power. There was in front of my house was a big valley that went way down, and this red thing was over. It was a power line, a major power line, and it was following the power line. What it was doing was sucking electricity out of the cables. So I thought, well, yeah, I'm gonna go down there and see what, what's going on. You know, it's a good thing I didn't, because that's the time when abductions were a major thing. And I studied, I've interviewed probably 400 or 500 people about abductions and the contactees and abductions. So I know a lot about abductions, and you know, and it's.
So then, Tom, do you think the abduction phenomena, I don't mean stopped, but do you think it's tapered off? Do you think it peaked in the 70s, 80s and 90s and now it's tapered off, or what's your views?
Well, you know, I don't know why, but yeah, it has. It was really intense there for a while, and probably the government, you know, the U.S. government had something to do with it. but it was mostly extraterrestrial because people would see extraterrestrials. You know, and so, but you know, I interviewed many of them. I'd say in the hundreds, anyways.
Yeah,
the people were abducted, and so I got to know a lot about it, and I got to know all the what you know, the things, you know, and I tell, you know, they've tried it with me a couple of times, and I know I don't want to use a lot of 4-letter words, but I used a lot of 4-letter words, and I said don't even mess with me, don't even try it, don't think about it. So
what do you think the reasoning, or what varied different reasoning for taking people? What do you think they wanted or want?
Well, they're curious about us. But I'll tell you something, you know, and I know a lot of the world's best researchers and all sorts of things in the paranormal, and I'll tell you something right now that the people that, you know, abductions was terrifying people, and a lot of it was terrifying. But in every single case, because I sat down and recorded all these, you know, most of them anyway. In every single case, the person was a different person after the abduction. They took better care of themselves. They were kinder to other people. They ate better in every single. So whatever the aliens were doing, it was for good.
You're doing for the betterment of the people involved. Yeah. Even though the abduction scenario, even though the situation was terrifying, I mean, I have to give my book a plug, Night People. That's about my own experiences.
Oh yeah,
and that's from being probably 5 or 6 years old till I don't know 14 years old, and it terrified me. But after it happened in the 1990s, I seem to have I ain't got any paintings to show people, but our house is full of paintings. I started painting. Did you find that people had got talents? They started writing, they started playing music after an abduction. Did it enhance things for them?
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to say no.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, but I knew a guy. His name was David, and I can't remember his last name. But when I met him, he was gonna commit suicide. David Huggins. I remember David Huggins. Oh, sometimes my old brain works. I can't believe I remember David Huggins' name. I should write it down right now.
I'll write it down now for you.
Yeah.
No more joking.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Give me a second. But okay, Huggins, Huggins. Anyway,
you could listen to this back anyway. It's going to be there.
Yeah. So David, he was going to commit suicide. You know, I'm a good listener. I'm not a big talker generally, but I'm a great listener. So David, and he had all sorts of drawings. In fact, Linda Moulton Howe got deeply involved in it. She kind of, I dropped it a little bit. She took it. She went with it for about a year. And so David, he was a painter, not great, but he was a painter. So he painted all the stories. A hole would open in the air, and these creatures, these beings, light bulb headed gray skinned creatures would come through the wall, and he said they were bald, but they had wigs on to make him feel better about messing around with,
more realistic to him.
Yeah. So he could stand it, but he was a breeder for the new hybrids, and was it Jacob Jacobs? Anyway, he studied this for many years. He said it's bad, and I don't. He says the hybrids are now in a position to take us over, and I can't figure that out because I don't see that.
David Jacobs.
David Jacobs. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And so he thinks the hybrids, the part human, part alien, are in a position to take us over.
Yep.
Has he got proof of that, or is it just his own research?
Well, his own research, just like me. I don't follow anybody. I follow me. So I don't. But yeah, David Jacobs. He says they're in a position to take us over, and I don't see that. I don't.
No.
I'm not gonna argue with him. You know, I never get into arguments with people about this kind of stuff. You know.
Well, what we're doing, Tom, is we're just arguing over opinions, aren't we? Because your opinion is just as valid as anybody's, isn't it? And providing we're not outlandishly just closing you down or you're closing me down, we've got to give each other a fair hearing, haven't we? Do you think then, Tom, do you think that the aliens, and I don't necessarily mean from outer space, do you think they're walking amongst us?
Oh, definitely. You know, my main study has been for the last 50 years, human extraterrestrials. In fact, I had a girl materialize right in front of me, and I had a witness. You know, like I say, just about everything I talk about, I can prove it. I'm not blowing smoke.
Well, I'd love to hear about this, Tom, if you want to share a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, sure. I was my girlfriend at the time. We were off hiking, and it was a really, it'd been raining and snowing. It was I was burned out. I was tired. I was sweaty because this was about 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell the whole story.
Please do. Yeah.
I was on a big show, you know, and he says, "Wait, what are you talking about?" So I said, "I'll start from the very beginning, then it'll make sense." So we were hiking, and around here the Sanawa Indians disappeared about 1,000 years ago, along with the Anasazi, but they left ruins. The Sanawa left ruins. They're all over the place here in northern Arizona. So, and I've been in just about all of them. When I was younger, I used to do a lot of bushwhacking, you know, get back there. And so I was trying to find a ruin, and it was on a, you know, quite a ways away from where we lived. It was pretty much, you know, pretty rough country. So I was getting really frustrated because I couldn't find the ruin, and it had been raining hard and all that. And you know, you lift your boot and there's 6 inches of mud sticking to the bottom. It was that kind of a day. Yeah. So I was standing. She was about 30 feet away from me, and I was standing on a arroyo, you know, valley, and just really getting frustrated because I couldn't find the trail down to the ruin. So this girl comes walking out of the woods. I mean, this blows my mind to this day. I mean, some of the things that have happened to me, I've constantly said it. Why me? Why in the blazes is it me that has these? Why me? You know, I've written 8 books, and you know, but it's proven. It's proved. It really happened. You know, so anyway, I'm always going, why me? Why is it me that have these kind of experiences, especially on the Bradshaw Ranch? But anyway, so this girl, you know, I mean, the mud is, you know, literally you walk and you got 6 feet of mud. It's so bad, and she walks out of the woods, and by then my mind was so sweaty and frustrated. I couldn't really think. So she goes over to my girlfriend, and they're talking. But the girl that walked out of the woods had a white wool sweater and red pants and street shoes. So I couldn't think. You know, I mean, you never can. When these things happen, you're never ready for it. You know, I've had a camera right in my hand, and after it was all over, I said, "My God, I had a camera right in my hand." You know,
absolutely.
So they were talking, and so I'm just kind of, you know, okay, well, yeah. And she didn't have a dog with her. Women, girls that hike around here, even though there's very low crime, they almost always have a dog with them. So she didn't. Even a little dog, sometimes, you know, a 10-pound job, you know. So I just kind of, you know, went to the girl, and I said, "Will you, you know, come over to here?" And I was just out of frustration. I said, "Do you know where the ruin is down there And the river, it was a dry wash, but it was roaring like the Colorado River. You could hardly, it was making so much noise you could hardly hear. So I asked the girl, I said, do you happen to know where the trail is that goes down to the ruins down there? And she went over and she pointed right there where I was. And I looked and I said, by God, you're right. I looked down there, but the rain had changed everything. So,
yeah.
And I never thought that she could have been an extraterrestrial. It never crossed my mind in a million years.
So what happened after that? Did you just part your ways? And
no. So this is where it gets good, really good. So now the trail was probably, this steep. Yes. Almost straight down. Yeah. It's slippery, muddy. And we had boots on with lugs on them, so they gripped the rocks, So we got down there. It was pretty good, probably 100 feet down there to the bottom of that arroyo, and so we me and Trelika, I think her name was, my girlfriend. We were talking. So she went over by the river, and I turned like this. And the girl that we saw materialized right behind me. I mean, materialized.
Really?
Yeah. If I'd have gone fast like this, I would have probably knocked her over. So I turned and I'm looking at her. I'm going, I'm trying to. You never can understand. This stuff happens. You're never ready for it. So and I'm looking around. Where the hell did you come from? So I could see for hundreds of yards in every direction.
Yeah, so she didn't come down with you then?
No. She was. We'd been down there, and then poof, she was. So anyway, I asked her. I said, oh, she came over to me, and she looked about 27 years old. She was probably about 500 years old. And I've tried. The thing I really blew it. I should have asked her if I could have touched her, because that would have eliminated, imagination. So I wish I'd have done that. So, but she was talking, and she talked so slow, silent. I had to put my ear right up to her mouth, and because she wanted to talk about the ruins, it's kind of interesting because the ruins were all sexual stuff. But they were over 1,000 years old. They were well over 1,000 years old, because the Sanawas had been gone for about 1,000 years. They disappeared. They don't. It's like
and was it rock art then, Tom?
Yeah. Rock art. Yeah, petroglyphs. Yeah. There's a difference between rock art and petroglyphs. I can't remember. But anyway, she wanted to talk about that stuff, and it's pretty sexual stuff that the Indians did, and. So Petrolina, she called me, and I turned just this like this, turned back, and the girl was gone. She disappeared, poof, and I could see it for hundreds of yards in all directions, and she was gone. She materialized and she dematerialized, and
that's profound, isn't it? That absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it changes your life. I've talked with some of some of the best researchers in the business about this stuff, that had that happen to them too. And so
had you thought about going back there, Tom? Do you think she's tied to that area, or do you think this lady's just transient?
No, they can do this anywhere.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and I know about that. See, there's my research, there are about 17 races of human extraterrestrials, and most of them are here with us right now, because you could be one. I mean, they look so much. Some of them are so close to us in looks that you wouldn't know. But they know. But they know.
Have you ever put the thought out, Tom, where walking about in a busy area, just your own thoughts, saying, if there's anybody here that can hear my thoughts, could you please communicate?
Yeah. Good point. If you think about extraterrestrials, because I did tours, very good point. and I proved this was real. I lots of times people say, "Oh, sure, bud, yeah, oh, yeah, sure, right," that kind of stuff. But if you think about extraterrestrials, because I did tours, I had a tour company for 23 years, and it was mainly of the Southwest, but I did UFO tours, and I got real tired of doing UFO tours. So, but and I proved this 3 times. If you think of extraterrestrials, especially if you're out in the boonies somewhere, and if you're thinking about them, they see you. So in one instance, let me think for a second. Well, anyway, when on my tours, we would see things appear and disappear, just blink, blink, and they were all orange. For some reason, the UFOs around here are orange. I don't have any idea why. But
are we talking about spheres of light then? Orange spheres of light?
They can be any shape,
okay.
Just about spheres or disc.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and I've been within. I could have thrown a tennis ball and hit one. It was so close. It was an alien spacecraft. There was nothing that came from this planet, and I had 6 witnesses. And I can some of these people have said, if you ever need a witness, I'm here. Somebody calls you. You're a BSer. I'm your witness. You can call me anytime. So I have people that will do that. I don't need them anymore because nobody. My credibility is so high. Nobody.
It's good though, Tom, isn't it? When you've got people that you can call upon as a witness, because otherwise, and I'm speaking for myself here. Otherwise, I find I like to take a group of people out and spend time with we've got our team that we go out with, and if it's brilliant if we get a multi-witness account or sighting, because like you just said, you can call upon these people and say, look, it's not just Paul Sinclair saying this, it's not just Tom Dongo saying this. I can cite this guy or this woman. They were there as well, and that makes it puts a bit more meat on the bone, doesn't it?
Well, I've had we talked about this in the beginning. Debunkers drive me crazy. You can prove a story, and you get somebody, oh, that's BS. That's for this reason, that reason. Makes me crazy. Yeah. I don't argue with them anymore. I call it poo-poo slinging. And a lot of them do it on purpose to start a fight. And I won't do it anymore. I've for many years. I won't argue with a skeptic for 3 seconds. I won't do it.
It's a great way to be. Absolutely. Yeah. We've got a great bunch of people for the most part on Truth Proof, and we don't engage in arguments. And if somebody wants to come on and start antagonizing or being clever just for the sake of it, they're gone. And it's same on social media. I'm not going to get involved in arguments. I've got too much of my own stuff to do to be bothered with it.
We're both too old for that crap.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I just want to stay with this extraterrestrials amongst us. Years ago, I was given a number and spoke to a lady who claimed that she was on a train station platform in a place called Doncaster here in UK. Yeah. And there's an unusual looking man. He, for all intents and purposes, he looked very unusual looking. Yeah. And she was focused on him, and he spoke to her in her mind, and he kind of told her, don't you? You're interested. And she had a conversation. Yeah. This man was speaking to her in her mind on a train journey opposite her. I wish I'd have kept in contact with this lady. This is probably about 20 years ago that she'd had this conversation. So and I believed her. So when you say, they're definitely here and walking amongst us, I would agree. I hope Les has got some questions kind of pertaining to that. When we move on to questions, we've got 15. I don't know how you're fixed for time, Tom, but we'll definitely get some questions in before we close it down with you. And I'm happy for 2 hours or an hour because it's just lovely talking to you. Yeah. And so I'll just give me a thumbs up, Les, if we have any questions. Yeah. Do you want to come with them now, Les? Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. Thanks, Les.
Yeah. Great questions in as always. Thanks for the questions, folks. And let's have a look then. Karen Bierman, welcome to the show, Karen. Tom, looking back on your life, have you felt as though you've been followed or watched by something bigger than we can perceive?
Often, actually. I hunt. I have this saying that I hunted them on their turf. So a lot of times I would. Well, yeah, often, but usually nothing appeared. But I got a quick story. This is a mind blower, and it happened. It's true. I was one time on the Bradshaw Ranch, and this is one time I had a gun with me, only time ever. And it was a U.S. military M1 carbine, pretty powerful gun. And I don't know why I took it with me, but I was on a part of the ranch, off the ranch, and I was following some tracks of an ATV. It went, in a place where an ATV shouldn't have been. And so I'm following the tracks. I get down on a wet, sandy area, and they were probably government people. The tracks, their tracks left the same shoes. They're about size 11. And they had like what Adidas or something on the bottom. You can see it in the sand. So, but nearby was tracks of a creature, and I got into a big argument with oh gosh, I can't think of his name right now. Very important person, doctor, over this. And so anyway, there was a creature. It was a human footprint, and it weighed about 1,000 pounds. And so these two guys were on this ATV, and they got off and they were walking around, and this creature, either they met it or it was there first or whatever, but they were walking. The tracks were together, and he was famous doctor that took out implants on it. Whitney Strieber and some of these other.
Lear, was it Lear? Dr. Lear?
Yeah, Dr. Lear. Yeah, Dr. Lear, and I'm glad you. Yeah. But so anyway, I was at a talk. I was doing a stage presentation in Orange County, California, and Dr. Lear was in the audience. And he said, "Come on, Tom, that's anatomically impossible for a 12-inch, 1,000 pounds on a 12-inch foot, because I weigh about 180, and my foot barely made an indentation by this one that sunk in on this barefoot track that sunk in an inch and a half, about that much, right? So that's 1,000 pounds. So Roger Lear and I got to be the best of friends, and over this stuff. It's one of the fun things about being into this stuff. So he said, right in the audience while I was talking, he cut in. He said, Tom, that's like it's BS. He said, that's anatomically impossible. And I said, Roger, yeah, but what if it came from another dimension? And that totally stopped him. So, and it could have. This new thing they've got now, they've discovered there are 16 dimensions that are close to us, and they can penetrate them. And they're scared that something's going to come out of those. They're going to see, us, and they're going to come out of it. 16 dimensions, brand new. It's
frightening prospect. So it probably takes us away from extraterrestrials, as in space, doesn't it? Go on then, Les, please.
Yeah, I didn't finish the thing about the orange.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. But that thing about the orange. Finish that. They can hear us. So I need to finish that.
Okay.
So anyway. Okay. So the tracks went away from the barefoot tracks went away, and they were going. Here I've got this this military gun. It's damn near a machine gun, so the tracks go up a hill, and one of the tracks is still filling with water. Well, that scared the living bejeebers out of me, because I knew that thing was in the bushes watching me. Because it was still filling with water. It was so. But I got this gun, but what am I going to do with it? I don't want to shoot any. If it's a Bigfoot or something.
Yeah.
And I've been studying. Incidentally, I've been studying Bigfoot since I was 16 years old, and I'm really they're not harmful creatures at all. So I was afraid it was a Bigfoot or something like that, So I beat it out of there real fast. But anyway, that's my incidents with that.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
I just wrote Bigfoot down. We might revisit that in a while. Well, then let's.
Philip Morgan. What does Tom think manifests in the Superstition Mountains?
Oh, yeah, superstition. I used to be I'm too old now, but I've been doing treasure hunting in Arizona for about 12 years. I mean, we've been beat out of about $400 million by other So at any rate, the superstitions are, even to this day, they say don't go into the Superstition Mountains alone, and don't go without a gun. Always take a gun. So many people have disappeared in the Superstition Mountains. You have to heed. I don't know why, but around here, the same sort of thing is Sycamore Canyon. There's something weird about Sycamore Canyon with aliens and Bigfoot that it equals the superstitions. So, but the superstitions, there's been, and I know all the stories about the gold and all that. And the Lost Dutchman mine, there was never a Lost Dutchman mine. He had found the Peralta stashes. The Peraltas were Mexicans that had found gold in the superstitions, and they'd stashed it. And the Dutchman found one of those, because he would go into the mountains with a backpack and come out with refined gold. Well, you don't find gold refined. So the Peraltas had refined it, and he found one of the stashes. But the superstitions are just a strange place. I mean, they're just, there's these weird places. You can't put your finger on why they're weird.
And is there all sorts of phenomena reported in superstitions then?
Like they find disembodied skeletons and things like that, and they don't know what did it. There are probably people hiding out in the superstitions that are dangerous, criminals and whatnot. But
so do you think then some of the stories about UFOs, cryptid type things from that location are more myth to put people off going there by criminals?
No, probably not. Myths of that type are rare. They really are. It's usually truth. There's some reality behind it.
Okay.
But the superstitions, no, the superstitions are just creepy, strange places, and they're right at the edge of a city. I mean, right at the very edge of an Arizona city. But they say to this day, do not go into the superstitions alone, and don't go without guns. So,
Okay,
Tom. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that, Tom. And I'll move on with another question from Studio 211 Productions. Hi, Tom. Have you been involved in the hunt for yowies at all?
Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, yowie. That's Bigfoot, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Often. You got 2 days. We can be here for the next 2 days. I can talk about Bigfoot. Yeah. In this country, it's Bigfoot, but they're all over the world. Bigfoot, yowies, the abominable snowman. They're all, I got in a big argument with probably the world's expert on Bigfoot, and he stomped away from me. He just said some nasty words to me and stomped away. I won't say his name, of course, but I was at a speaker at a big conference. 500 people showed up to see me on Friday morning, 9:00 Friday morning. So that's pretty kind of. So anyway, he was there. No, I'm not going to say his name, but he really kind of peed me off. I said, because I said, Bigfoot can materialize and dematerialize, because I've seen the tracks where they start and they stop. So something, they're in nobody. I know some of the best Bigfoot researchers in the world, and so there's never been. Somebody needs to catch a Bigfoot, not shoot them. There's a lot of people trying to shoot them, and they have been shot. So they're real, but they can what kind of a creature
can materialize and dematerialize?
Yes. So what are they? What are they?
And this man who will remain nameless obviously believes that we're dealing with some kind of hominid that's gone undetected.
Exactly. Just an animal.
Yeah.
And so I've been studying this since I was 16 years old, so I know. Oh, my voice.
Well, I think that explanation, Tom, would sort of answer the question: is why we've never actually got one in captivity.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a story. If you remember Ivan Sanderson, he was probably the top paranormal researcher in the world, in this country. Ivan Sanderson.
Okay.
And he this is about 60 or 70 years ago, I guess. And he had a story of it had a name, but at any rate, a sheriff's posse in Louisiana was chasing a Bigfoot, and they shot it to pieces, and it fell into a clump of bushes. So they rushed in there, and they said blood was everywhere. Ivan Sanderson said this, so I know it's real. I know it's true. It's not not made up. But they said that blood was everywhere, but it was gone. There was no, and people, God, this is the kind of nuts I deal with sometimes. So people saying, "Oh, there was a hidden trap door there, and it opened, fell into the trap door." And I said, "No, it's not what happened." But
it'd explain why nobody ever finds a body, wouldn't it? Or a specimen of these things. And you'll have heard this, Tom, and I know people in chat will have heard it, where people claim to have watched these things go behind a tree that thick and just not come out at other side. It just disappears. Yeah, that's not a normal flesh and blood animal, is it?
No, not at all. I interviewed. There was a family from Oklahoma, and they were just average people. I've only real crazy people, nut jobs, maybe only 1% that I've dealt with. But that these people had a ranch, a farm in Oklahoma, nice place, and there was a Bigfoot family living on it, and they could speak English, and they could read the female Bigfoot could read books, and she would give the Bigfoot a book, and she'd critique it and read it and critique it. Now these are Bigfoot. This is not. I've heard this story a number of times. So then I have a friend in Illinois that bought a huge tract of land because there's a Bigfoot family living on it. And and I know him well. The guy's he's not crazy. He's not he bought this. Yeah.
And has he formed some kind of, I wouldn't say relationship, but they know he's there, and he's bought it to observe them, presumably.
No. He discovered they were on his property, and he got to know them. But by the same token, in Alaska, Bigfoot have killed and eaten humans. So you got to wonder what's going on here. No, there's one instance where somewhere in Alaska, this kid, he's 16 years old. He had to hike through this woods to get to his girlfriend's place, and on the way back, a Bigfoot showed up. He killed him, and he was eating the guy when the sheriff's posse, because the guy didn't come home. And the sheriff's posse showed up, and the Bigfoot was eating him. But so was it the same kind of a Bigfoot? I mean, some of them seem to be so primitive, but yet so intelligent. And I've known of stories where people have met Bigfoot and they prophesized words, the future of this person. You need to stop doing this, or don't go there, or whatever, So what's going on.
And then we've got this totally, cannibalistic type of creature. That's descriptions that same. Although I've been told that they're bigger. That the people who've described them that are bigger in Alaska, these things, than what they are in other parts of the world. No,
not really. They can be younger or be smaller, that sort of thing. But bigger. Well, if you want to get into dogmen, we can really talk about dogmen, because dogmen can be huge, like 16 feet tall when they stand up straight. Dogmen, and dogmen, they're werewolves, and they do not. Bigfoot and dogmen don't get along at all.
Do you, just before Les goes to another question, do you think then that dogman is just a new word for the werewolf?
Yeah. Well, it started when I long time ago, I got into this in the English research, you guys.
Yeah.
With the werewolves and it's pretty, and like I was, when I was talking to Bob Brown, last on his show, that those dogs scare the blazes out of me. Those black dogs that people run into in England, they're not dogs. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So people, well, why do you do this stuff? I said, because I want to know what the hell's going on. That's all I want to know. I want to know what. So, I am one of the top remote viewers on this planet, and there are things going on that for one thing, humans have abilities that we have no comprehension that we have these abilities. Vast things that we've probably forgotten somewhere along the line somewhere.
Yeah.
Like remote viewing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
I suppose that flies across the board. That with the Bigfoot that is said to be able to speak into people's mind, the clairvoyant who can receive the messages from spirit, the mind speak. It's probably an ability, like you've said, Tom, that we've long since lost that ability. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, this is some things I get into, about every show I'm on, and I wish I could teach people remote viewing, because it's so. If people had any idea what I can see,
Tom, I'm sorry, Tom. We're at the top of the hour now. Do you want to go a little bit longer? Which you're welcome to, or is time an issue for you?
Yeah, let's go another hour. I got to go pee though for rest.
Yeah, you do that, and we'll talk about books for 2 minutes.
You're going to do that, Tom.
Yeah, we'll see you in 5 minutes then, Tom. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're just Tom's interesting. Come on, guys, with the questions, and let's.
We've got plenty of questions in, Paul, and I'll go and look for some more, obviously.
Absolutely.
And, this remote viewing intrigues me.
Absolutely, yeah. Perhaps we should look, Les.
Yeah, I've got a question for Tom when he comes back on about the remote viewing, and particularly of the time space that he goes back to, because. I kind of don't want to spoil the question, so
we'll wait. So we're all poised to hear Les's question here, people. The 200 people here. I see Alison's in. Good to see you, Alison. Steve Tees, Tonya Morrison, Cat in a Hat, Rod, Tony Worrell. Let's have a look. Rivington Pikes in. We've done that, and it's Steve Trees, not Tees. Alligator or Gator. How's that one? So yeah, all good. So let's have a think. Oh, here we go. Awakening Conference. Go on, Les.
Yeah, you've got the Awakening Conference coming up on May the 17th, and Steve Meier is organising this along with other people. And it looks a good conference, Paul. You're on the speaking list, obviously. And I'm saying obviously. Yeah.
I am on it. And there's Camilla, Barry, Nick Kyle, Sarah Kyle, Ian Limford, who's in chat, I think, and Steve Meier. It should be good. It should be a good day for everybody and all involved. And I hope you guys are going to enjoy what speakers are going to be talking about. I know what Ian's going to be talking about, and it's going to be really interesting. You know what I mean? I've seen what he's been putting together, and I'm looking forward to hearing it myself.
And so the website,
go on, mate.
The website, obviously on the bottom of that of that page there. And is there any tickets left, Paul? So
there'll be tickets left. I think you're going, aren't you, Les?
Yeah.
You'll be going, and I'm saying I think there's tickets left. I don't want to say there isn't, because otherwise it's going to close it down. If as far as I know, there's tickets left. So, but tickets are selling well, and everything's going good for the conference. So let's hope it's a success. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be. And what time's Eater speaking? 3 o'clock, Paul Sinclair. So, and we're going to be doing Hummamby, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So,
right,
and
Tom's
I see
back in
Tom's
the room,
back, so
so
let's
we'll
have
bring
Tom
him-
back on.
Yeah, we'll bring him back on. I'll bring him on. Yeah. There we
Okay,
go.
Tom, is that better? Feel good?
Yeah.
Excellent. Go on then, Les.
Okay, yeah. So what intrigues me, Tom, and it's a question from myself, is the remote viewing that you do. You kind of choose to go back. Did you say 1,000 years?
Yeah.
And you go and sit in a field, and what's the attraction for going back 1,000 years? Why not go forward 1,000 years?
No. Yeah. I don't know of any remote viewer. I've asked around, and no remote viewer can go into the future. It's just
Okay. Yeah.
conundrum. For some reason, I can't see anything in the future. It's all just like a kaleidoscope. But I can go back into the past. There's it's a Saxon village I go back to, and the air is pure back then, and the flowers smell different. Our air stinks now. It compared to 1,000 years ago, it does. So I would go back and just sit and watch what's going on in this Saxon village. It must be somewhere in England, but I would just sit there. Dogs would come over and sniff me, and because it smelled bad. The people smell bad because they were wearing perfume. They soaked themselves in perfume, and So anyway, but it was interesting watching people thousands of years ago. And I say this. Yeah, I went back and watched Jesus one time just for the heck of it. People go, "Oh my, you can do that." Yeah, a remote viewer can do that. They say, "My God,
So while you're in this state, then Tom, I'm sorry if I've said it wrong, calling it a state. Has anybody ever from that time ever seen you?
Yeah. Well, we're trapped in a linear reality, and others, this when I was at the Bradshaw Ranch, this happened. That's probably one of the reasons I have these strange abilities, because I absorbed these things. See the Bradshaw Ranch. Well, this is it. This is my book, Merging Dimensions. Everybody go out and buy a copy of it.
We'll do that in 5 minutes, Tom. You can tell us all about the books. Absolutely great book.
So anyway, I this is all about the Bradshaw Ranch, and the Bradshaw Ranch. There was a portal by the ranch house, which I was going to point out the ranch house, so it was a big one, 20 feet. And I spent 4.5 years on the Bradshaw Ranch with the Bradshaws, and Linda Bradshaw and I were out 3 or 4 nights a week. And sometimes it seemed like we were in Times Square, because all these creatures coming out of the portal. And so we probably absorbed some of what they were, but because of all this association we had with them, and you could smell them. If you're, a remote viewer, at least for me, you can travel 1,000 miles and you can smell what's there. It's just one of the things. So anyway, we could sometimes, like roses, the roses are all around us, or either that or burning sulfur and tar. I'll tell you a story. So we only had 35 millimeter cameras. We had very little money, but we did. Now, the Skinwalker Ranch, they got multi-millions dollars worth of ground penetrating radar and everything else there. But me and the Bradshaws, we had nothing. We had point and shoot 35 millimeter cameras, and finally bought a Panasonic
night vision type thing.
Yeah, towards the end, but that's all we had. That's all we could afford. And so anyway, we could feel these things coming around, and Linda could see them. I couldn't. She could sense them, but I couldn't. So anyway, we did this for 4.5 years, 3 or 4 nights a week, and it was a. I've said this. Probably there aren't a handful on this planet that have ever experienced what Linda Bradshaw and I experienced. Mm. And I know the Skinwalker guys. I know, Brandon Fugel that owns the Skinwalker Ranch, and he wanted to, he's a good guy. So I know everything about the Skinwalker Ranch. And the difference between the Skinwalker Ranch is the stuff in the Skinwalkers is malevolent, and it was benevolent it was good on the Bradshaw Ranch. Nothing bad ever happened on the Bradshaw Ranch. Not like the Skinwalker. There's some scary stuff that's happened on the Skinwalker Ranch.
So then, Tom, before we get to that, and I don't want to cut you off in mid-flow, are you okay for a few more questions?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
I want to talk Bradshaw Ranch. I want to talk Merging Dimensions. We want to know where to get your books, but we'll do that after a few questions, if that's okay.
Yeah. Let's go for the 2 hours. We're good.
Typical. The questions took us to Bradshaw and Skinwalker.
There you are. Stephen Collins is asking, which is the out of Bradshaw and Skinwalker, which one is the most paranormal in your opinion?
Oh, the Skinwalker, 100 times more paranormal the Skinwalker Ranch, 100 times more. I have the ability to scan. I was taught how to do this at the Berkeley Pyschic Institute. I can scan like radar, and I was kind of hoping, because I know a lot of those guys, the Skinwalker guys. I kind of was hoping that they'd invite me on the ranch, but I probably wouldn't have gone.
No,
because there's something awful on the Skinwalker Ranch. Something awful, and I can see it from a distance. But like I say, this now, and I say there's no devil, there's no Satan, and I'll stick with that. But there is an awful evil out there. Yeah, because I run into it. I run face to face with this thing, and it is awful. So we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, and Yorkshire Puffin is asking, Tom, you described what Paul refers to as intelligent light forms so beautifully in Merging Dimensions. If you haven't already, I'd love to hear more about the red spheres you saw at Bradshaw Ranch.
Yeah, I was going to talk about this. It came up a couple of days ago now, because you get old, your memory does get kind of bad, but there was something that was going to come up. Now I can't, but the red ones. Okay. Something just came up with somebody else that I wish I could remember, but anyway.
It's difficult when you're put on spot, Tom, sometimes, isn't it? But
well, when you're 80 years old, it's a real, it ain't easy. So, but anyway, the red ones, Linda Crystal and Linda Bradshaw in this country. Linda Crystal was in New York, Pine Bush, New York. They discovered orbs. And I won't hesitate. It's all. But Linda Bradshaw and Linda Crystal discovered orbs. From there it went all over the world. It's common, right? But they discovered it. So that's why I was invited onto the Skinwalker Ranch, because of the orbs that Linda she didn't know what they were, and I didn't either.
Do you not think then, Tom, that orbs had been seen before Linda and Linda Crystal, is it? And surely people would have seen these things before, no?
Oh yeah, they've probably been here before humans were, but they're just becoming. Yeah.
But they kind of brought it into vogue. They made it popular. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, digital or 35 millimeter, they both photograph orbs well. And Linda Bradshaw and I, we watched these the orbs. They were probably 10 inches, about this big, like a football. But so anyway, we watched them flying around for a long time, I think years. And I remember one night I said, Linda, I don't think those, because we thought they were planes landing at the Cottonwood Airport, and so I said, Linda, I don't think those are airplanes. So we had these spotlights, these 3 million candle power spotlights, and we started, flashing them back and forth, and they responded. We'd go back, flash, and they would so we tried Morse code, flash, 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 Morse code sequences, and they returned. So there was somebody in one of the U.S. states that studied this, and he discovered they have the intelligence of about an intelligent dog, and I would go along with that.
Okay.
So they would follow Linda Bradshaw around, and Linda, when we finally got a camcorder, what we would do, we would take pictures. We'd take, these creatures, whatever they were, we discovered that they were, when a 35 millimeter camera is ready to flash, the red light comes on. So we would put a thumb over the red light, and we found out it confused them. So we could catch them, take them by surprise. And go ahead.
Yeah, I know you've got some pictures of those. It's my mistake for not asking you to supply us with a few pictures, because I do realise I see Josh Turner's in, and good to see you, Josh. Tetrastatic, John Paul Body, great to speak to you earlier in the week, John. Back to Tom. Sorry, go on, mate.
Don't forget the orange. There's a good story behind the orange. We're talking to extraterrestrials. Good story behind it. So don't let me forget. My mind wanders so bad. When I used to do presentations to 200 or 300 or 400 people, I say, somebody, if I start talking about something else, somebody in the audience, and they say, "Hey, Tom, you were talking about remote viewing."
And it just throws in another direction. I get it. I get it.
So
Can I get this question in, Tom? Because I know I've got a few backed up here. Lee Roscoe is asking, can you find missing people, Tom, with remote viewing?
Yeah, I have done that. I have, but I'm not in the business. I have to make it plain. I'm not in the business of doing that. Because I kind of, one time, I had a friend that wanted to advertise me doing this. It was their idea. So I had, people wanted me to find their dogs and their cats. And I said, never again. No people. Or the wife or the husband, well, where's my husband? I want to get even with him. That kind of thing. So I said, no more of this. I'm never, ever. No.
You're not doing it.
No, yeah, but I can. I can. Let me see one instance of that. I can't think what. But I found a dog one time. A woman called me. She said, "Oh, I found a bunch of dogs just for friends that they lost a dog." And I said, she called me and she said, "My dog Heidi is a black Labrador, took off. I can't find her." And I said, "Yeah, well, she's PO'd at you." And she said, "If you go out your front door and walk to the right and go about 50 yards, she's hiding under that pine tree." And that's where she found her.
Well,
so that kind of stuff, yeah.
There's an example of it. Just before we go to a question, Les, I've just a little plug for Josh Turner, because anybody who doesn't know, Paranormal Roundtable, just have a look at it on YouTube. An absolutely brilliant channel if you want to talk about Bigfoot, Dogman, any type of phenomena, really. But I know Josh concentrates on that. And we'll be talking on Sunday, myself and Les, on Truth Proof. And we'll also be talking on, what day do we do it now? Tuesdays for the last transmission. And do you think it's a good time for Tom to talk about his books for a minute or so? I think that would be good, Tom. Where can people get your work?
Yeah, thank you. My website, it's not workable anymore. I've kind of not been able to take care of it. So my website is no good. But my Amazon is my only distributor now for my 8 books. Amazon, and I highly. My bread and butter is merging dimensions with an M, merging dimensions about the Bradshaw Ranch. Yeah, it's this one.
What was the book, Tom?
Yeah. This is called Crash Commercialization.
It's got great reviews. Everybody that you talk to about this book who's read it thinks it's brilliant. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a hit. It's a real hit. I know it's expensive in England because of the shipping. Because I've shipped stuff to Denmark and some of these other places. The shipping is awful. But I believe Amazon does have warehouses in England. So, but at any rate, my Amazon is my only distributor, and that's it. And then I always get asked, well, how people can contact you. They can't, because I suppose Amazon, Facebook, if somebody really, but I used to get, I don't have a wife and I don't have a staff. So some of my friends have staffs, to handle all this stuff, but I would get 50 emails a day, and I can't deal with that. And I still get too many. So,
it's hard work, Tom. I can go with that. I know exactly what you're saying. I get up at 5:30 in the morning and I'm answering emails, and I'm not getting 50, but I'm answering emails. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm answering emails with my phone. So it is hard work, but that's brilliant, Tom. Thank you. And do you want to go to some questions, Les?
Sure. Has Tom spent any time at the Monroe Institute?
No, but I know a lot about it. Any specific questions about Monroe? What?
This is the guy who wrote. Is it Journeys Out of the Body? I think it will, won't it? Robert Monroe.
No, I haven't spent time there, but I know a lot about it. I've done a lot of. I have friends that have gone there, and they've talked to me about it. And I think it's called hemisync. It comes from Monroe, and it's pretty phenomenal. It stimulates your brain waves. Hemisync. And I think it comes from Monroe, but it's fun. I've got it. I've used it. And it's phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Deb, that we couldn't enlighten you on that anymore. But right, Tom. Right, go on then.
Studio is asking, hi, Tom. What are your thoughts on the Sedona vortexes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I the first 2 years I was here, I did vortex tours. That's how I made my living. And I call them back then. I call them energy springs. It kind of seemed more fitting, but there are hundreds of them. I had a medical doctor travel the world going to these energy spots, and believe it or not, he healed with rocks. He would pick up rocks in these energy spots. I said, "Is that legal or ethical with the American Medical Association?" And he said, "Sure. If it's ethical and it works,
why not?"
Fine. Yeah. So I took him to some of the. All the canyons around here are like a half a wagon wheel. Spokes radiate out from a hub and way. So when I was younger, I've been in all the canyons. So I would take him to the spots I took him to all the Indian ruins, the Sonawa ruins, on these energy spots. Somehow the Indians could they could sense them, they could find them, and whatever they did with them, they must have used them for something. But I took him to one in Long Canyon. Long Canyon is 7 miles long. Yeah, to an Indian ruin. He said, "I've never been to a place." He's been all over the world, and he said, "I have never been to any place anywhere in the world that's got the powerful energy that this spot does." In a Sonawa Indian ruin, high up in the cliffs, benches. We call them benches here. So I was pretty impressed with that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any more, Les?
Yes. Let's have a look. Ross Gilbert is asking, in the whole paranormal world, what's the biggest shift in beliefs in this subject? Say over the last 50 years, Tom, what's the biggest shift that you've seen in this subject of the whole paranormal world?
Well, that's a hard question. But there's a shift going on right now everywhere on everything. So, there's something strange going on our planet right now. Yeah, that's what I got to tell this story, and I can do it. But I have to be very careful. I have a friend, and this is an exclusive. to you guys. But I have a friend high in the government. This guy is high in the government. And I got to be very careful what I say. But we may have extraterrestrial intervention on this planet any day. It could happen. It might not happen at all, but it's extraterrestrials are highly irritated in what we're doing to ourselves and the damage we're doing to the planet. Highly irritated, that because they're afraid we're going to have a nuclear war and destroy the planet. Which, you know, there have been 3 nuclear wars on this planet in the past, because there are places in South America, Pakistan, and now Egypt. You know, and these things they've just found under the pyramid. It's going to change the world. It's happening right now. There may be a city underneath the pyramids. I'm just getting into that, but extraterrestrials are. I've talked to extraterrestrials. I can communicate with them with telepathy. I've done it. I've talked about it often on my shows. But they're very unhappy with what we're doing. The planet is overpopulated. Where the air is bad, the water's bad. Everything, the jungles are dying, the forests are dying. So they're tired of it, and they're thinking of. I mean, this isn't going to be anything harmful, because this guy's met these. And he says they scared the hell out of me, just by them being what they are. They're not. They're humanoids. Oh, and I never finished that thing. The 17. My research is the 17 races, species of human extraterrestrials on the planet right now, but there are about 120 humanoid. They're, you know, they one head, one arm. Oops, I got to keep my hand off that. But so anyway, now if this comes true, it could happen any day. The intervention by extraterrestrials. And so that's as far as I can go with this, but it may not happen. How many? Yeah, go ahead.
No, so just before Les goes to another question, I travelled a considerable distance this week to speak to an elderly lady who had contact in the 1980s, and she said something very similar, not about the amount the hybrids, but the contact could come at any time. And she'd sat on something for years and over 40 years that without really sharing it with anybody apart from her husband. And she told me an incredible story, which I'm not going to do on here tonight, because this is for Tom Dongo. This is what we're here for. But it just kind of rang true that this lady had sat on this information for many, many years, and you know, getting on in years, in her 80s. And I didn't record her; she wouldn't let me. But I sat and listened and took notes, and she wrote all about it. But what you're saying about this could happen at any time, that was the message she'd been given. Fascinating.
Tom, would the extraterrestrials actually stop a nuclear war, Tom?
Yes, good question. Okay. They've been asked that, and they said we probably, if it's a full scale war, we probably wouldn't be able to stop all of it, but we'd try. We could stop a lot of it. But on the other hand, you know, Bill Hamilton, he was a top UFO researcher in the world about 30 years ago. Bill and I have a good. Bill has passed on now, but Bill, he interviewed a guy that had just. I mean, I know so many instances like this. You got all night, but anyway, this UFO landed and the aliens got out. And they were, you know, some of these aren't totally human, but they can, and these weren't, but they could speak English or any language. They could learn any language at any rate. So this guy went over and he said, why don't you stop us before we blow up the planet and kill ourselves, all of us, and kill ourselves all off? And he said, we can't, because if we intervene in your affairs, we will be held responsible for what you humans do as a result of our intervention in your affairs. So because I've known a lot of that sort of thing that's happened, and they say, but now I think the attitude's different now. It's to the point where it's almost too late. So they're going to do something.
Yeah.
And I keep running this thing on. So one of them stopped it. Paul Hellyer, the Canadian Defense Minister, he said the same thing. We're destroying the planet, and it's got the extraterrestrials are going to stop it. And he's been on TV. Many I just keep putting it back on Facebook. So what are they?
Because a man of Paul Hellyer's position saying something like that, it carries weight, doesn't it?
Yeah, somebody, credibility is a hard thing here, because in fact, I just got through. I put something on the internet. It's really been huge about the Valiant Thor, the Pentagon, the stranger in the Pentagon.
Is this the alien Valiant Thor?
Yeah.
What he said to be an alien?
Yeah. So I got debunkers, especially some guy from Russia. The debunkers, they can get real nasty. If they're real nasty, I just delete them. But some of them, I will say, well, how do you explain this? So yeah, Valiant Thor was sent here in the 50s to because we were so close to destroying ourselves with nuclear weapons. He spent time with Eisenhower. And a kind of a friend of mine is Laura Eisenhower. She evidently wrote a book, and she included that. Valiant Thor spent a lot of time with Eisenhower, and Eisenhower. I knew more about it years ago, but Eisenhower basically told him, we can't do it right now because the people wouldn't accept it. Because Valiant wanted to delete nuclear weapons. Because he said, you're very close now at destroying your planet in a nuclear war. This is back in the 50s.
But surely, Tom, if Valiant Thor, I'm not saying you're not correct and this isn't true.
Yeah, sure.
Surely if he'd have been saying this to Eisenhower and they'd have deleted nuclear weapons, another nation not connected to Eisenhower and the United States would have stepped in and took advantage of that, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, those are all the questions. Why and why didn't they? We don't know all this political BS that goes on around us. I mean, it's intense. I'll tell you. I know a friend of mine talk about I think the lady asked about. Cope Shellhorn. I think he's in Brazil now, but he wrote a book that never got published. I just checked on it. But he said about 150 UFO researchers have been murdered. They committed suicide by shooting themselves in the back of the head 4 times, and stuff like that. And it never got published. He said, it's ready to go right now. Cope Shellhorn. You can look it up. So why? Who stopped it? So anyway, this stuff that goes on, and I know, deep intelligence. I have colonel friends, retired friends that were in the intelligence. So I hear stuff that, that very few people do. So I know stuff.
You were friends with Wendell Stevens, weren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. When Bob Dean and Wendell Stevens and I were very good friends. I thought Wendell, when he died, I thought he was PO'd at me for some reason. And his wife, Cece, said, oh, no, Wendell thought the world of you. He was always telling people about what a great researcher you are. So I said, oh, good. I feel better now.
Just, I'm not, Les is there, and I know he's poised with some questions, but what did Wendell Stevens think? Well, did he think it were extraterrestrial, or did he think they were here and amongst us?
Oh, no, they were. Well, Billy Meier, Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Billy, you get into that controversy about Billy Meier and people will drive you crazy, but Billy Meier is telling the truth. You know why? Because a German friend of mine, Michael Hesseman, he went to Schmidt-Rudy to prove Meier was a fraud. That's why he was going there, because he knew all the stuff about Semyazi and the Pleiadians. So so and Michael and Colonel Stevens are pretty close associates. So anyway, Michael, I finally saw him, at a conference, and I said, "So, Michael, what'd you find out?" He came over to me about Billy Meier, and he said, "The man is telling the truth." That's it for me. That's good enough for me. I'll never ask any other questions, because Michael had someone with, he would have been a great Gestapo colonel, a good one, So he was.
Okay.
Right. Well, on the Gestapo colonel question one, then we'll just try this. Sounds of sleep says what?
Sounds of sleep. Yeah. Can you ask Tom about the landed UFO and his pal in the Jeep, trying to impress his girlfriend?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if this was on your list of questions, Paul.
It weren't. So thank you. Sounds of sleep.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. I just thought about that. But yeah, there were about 6 of us. We were out one night, and we all had cameras. One was you could film a movie with it. It was a very expensive camera. So I looked off in the distance, and I saw something that looked funny to me. So we all had really powerful binoculars. So I looked at it, and it was a UFO, a disc on the ground that was being repaired. And it had at the 5 o'clock spot, probably hit with a missile, I would guess, or a jet fighter shot at it, whatever. But anyway, it was being repaired. These lights, and there was nothing holding the lights. They were flying around like this, and they were repairing it. The lights there was about a half a dozen of them, and then above it there was this enormous blue light that was about half the size of the ship. And I think the blue light must have been some kind of a defensive thing. And then so my partner Jim, he had a new girlfriend, and he said, "Well, I'm going to go down there. I'm going to drive." He had a 4-wheel drive that could get down there. And so he went down there. We could see him. We could see his headlights bumping down in the valley, and he went over to there was a road that went over to this craft that was being repaired, and when he got close to it, it had red lights, flashing red lights all around it, and I learned this early on. When they start to pulse, I've seen so many UFOs, real crafts. When they start to pulse, they're getting ready to shoot, because I've got a powerful green laser, and when they get hit with a green laser, they think it's a weapon. I mean, their system, their automatic system thinks it's a weapon. They're being fired at. Because I've had it happen many times. And so they got the headlights. We could see the headlights hit the ship, and the ship started to pulse. And everybody tried to convince him, don't go down there. So his girlfriend said, "You can let me out right here, because I'm not going 1 foot closer to that thing." So she started to open the door, and he said, "Oh, okay." Well, so he turned around and came back. And and so I have a friend. He's one of my best friends. He's a retired United States Air Force colonel. And I said, "So, Ron, what do you think? I mean, was it alien or us?" And he said it was alien, because if it was us, it would be surrounded with guys with men with machine guns and attack helicopters. So it was alien. Because he knows all about. He's up on aliens and that sort of thing as I am. So. He was an Air Force colonel. And by the way, I got to tell you another story. So anyway, when we left, it was still there. The ship was still there, and the lights were still repairing that. It was a pretty good chunk, probably blown out. It was probably hit by a missile. I would guess it got. So anyway, it was still there. A couple hours later, we couldn't hang around anymore.
Thank you.
So yeah, oh gosh, what was I gonna say?
You'd got another story, but it doesn't matter, because I reckon Les has got some questions. Are you still okay for some questions?
Yeah, sure. Lay them on me. Yeah.
Scotch Mist, Tom, what made you think that strange girl you saw was an alien and not a ghost?
Yeah, good one. Yeah, no, she wasn't a ghost, and she wasn't a jinn or a succubus. I've dealt with ghosts a lot. In fact, I could I don't do it now. Well, I was in a bad car accident about 20 years ago, and I had brain damage, so I lost a lot of my abilities. But I've dealt with ghosts. I could see them. I could if I looked, I could probably see. There's something that happens with me, and I've talked to other people. I'm going, good. I'm not just me, but there's something that extends out from my head and then turns on, and then I can see these things. And I've talked to other people, psychics, that same thing happened. So I felt good. I'm really not crazy. But ghosts, no, it wasn't a ghost. She was not a ghost. So
I think probably, Tom, a lot of the time we've got to go with his gut, and you're thinking your gut feeling is saying it's not a ghost. So I think you're right.
Well, no, ghost. I mean, she was physical like you and me. A ghost can't do that. No, I'm trying to think of an instance where one did, but I mean they can appear, but they look like they're ghostly, right? So no, she was not a ghost. She was not a ghost.
Just before we go to another question, I see Martin Abbas is in. We knew I were in earlier, but it's just, and I just saw the aliendisclosure.uk aliendisclosure.disclosure.co.uk. So that is our our tool, stratification tool for collecting reports of the strange and unusual paranormal experiences, UFO sightings. Go to the truthproof.uk website, and you can download the document now that Don's reworked, so it's a little easier for you guys. You can download it, fill it in, and send it back to Martin and myself at that email address, because we're after looking for data and seeing whether there's patterns. I just thought I would get that in because I just saw the link come up. So off you go. Let's have another question. Sorry about that, Tom.
No, fine. No, that's good. Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Harry Poppins is saying, great guest tonight. Can you ascertain the approximate numbers of Bigfoot?
Yeah, actually, the guy that is a world expert, and I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to do it.
I think we all know his name, but don't say it.
Right. Yeah, you do. Yeah. So no, there's a lot of them, and he figured it out by analyzing the terrain, where how many Bigfoot there were, and they're all over the place. There's not a lot of them, not millions, but they're all over the place because of the kind of the water they need, the food they need. He was able to ascertain where they were. And it's good.
Well, that's based on the fact that they might be some kind of hominid living and undetected, but not based on the fact that they could be something, I wouldn't say paranormal, but slipping in and out of our reality. That would make it a different ball game altogether, in my opinion, anyway. Yeah,
it would. And I'd like to know. I want to know. While I'm still here, I want to know. I want to find out. And I know people. Like my Air Force colonel friend, I mean, he's one of the original U.S. government trained remote viewers by Ingo Swann and Russell Targ. He's one of the original. And I've got a letter. I just found it. I'm going to show him. And damn it, next time I see him, I got a letter that he sent me a long, long time ago. Because the government, the U.S. government, when I was on the Bradshaw Ranch, they were remote viewing me. And he had sent me a letter with a letterhead on it, so I'm going to show. And I got another one. I just found it the other day when I was poking through some of my papers. I'm going to show it. He said, "Ron, do you remember this?" Because we would, so we would sit and have most incredible conversations because he wouldn't talk around his wife. I guess she criticized him. So when he and I were together with his wife having coffee, he wouldn't say much, pretty much clammed up. But I've got this story that, if we were somewhere in Omaha, Nebraska, or the Bible Belt of the U.S., we wouldn't get out of this place alive if people heard what we were talking about. Because he'd been on Mars, he all the stuff. And I said, Ron, if anybody overhears us, and we won't get out of here alive. We'll be tarred and feathered and run out of town.
Yeah, they just wouldn't be able to wrap their heads around it, Tom, would they?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've got Martin Abbas in again. I just mentioned Martin because Martin, at one point in time, were rated as one of the top remote viewers in the world. That's Dr. Martin Abbas. So just thought I'd get that in, Martin. You'll not be going red, I know you won't, but he's quite modest. Go on then, Les. Hit us with another.
Okay, let's have a look. Right, here we go. You ready? We've got Stephen Collin asking, have you been involved with Stardust Ranch at all?
Oh boy, good questions. Seriously, I get asked questions. On some big shows where there's 5 million people watching, and some of the questions are really bogus. I mean, it's stupid, but these are good ones. Yes, Stardust. You know what? I got involved. I was asked if I would want to get involved in Stardust Ranch is near Phoenix, Arizona. It's about 10 miles from it. And I said, I don't want to have anything to do with that place. It's so, the guy said he killed gray aliens with a baseball bat.
Okay.
And maybe he did. He died not long ago, the owner. And I had a chance to go there and spend time there. And I said, no, I don't want anything to do with that place. But because of the Bradshaw Ranch, the Skinwalker, and the Stardust, and the one you talked about in Colorado, I don't know anything about that place, but I'm hearing about it. It's
good, Tom, that everything that you've been involved in, you like the positive. We all like the positive anyway. It's the place we're researching, I've got to admit, it's pretty negative. But from what I'm getting from tonight, speaking with you, you've surrounded yourself with the positive aspect of the phenomenon, and that's no bad thing.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna, like Ouija boards. I'm going to tell people again, stay away from Ouija boards, because don't have anything to do with a Ouija board. That's one of the most dangerous things I know. I know voodoo, I know Santeria. And Ouija boards, don't mess with them. I know the evil side, because I've had to understand it, especially being at the Berkeley Psychic Institute, and I've developed incredible psychic abilities. Anyway.
Okay.
No.
Do we have more questions, Les? Are we?
Cat in the Hat. Can you describe Jesus? What did he look like and what was he wearing?
Yeah. I didn't stick around very long, but he looked to me, he had a lot of people around me, and I wasn't that close, but I stuck around long enough so I got a good look. To me, he looked a lot more Arabic, dark skin. If it was Jesus, I might have been somebody else, but I said, I'm going to go, a remote view Jesus. And he had long hair, very dark and very Arabic looking. And I didn't stick around very long. Some things you don't remote view for long. You just don't. And that was one of the things I kind of got warned to bug off, so I did. But and I think, okay, I'm probably going to offend a few people, but I think Jesus was an extraterrestrial, because he had all the abilities of an extraterrestrial. Okay. My opinion.
And Alison's saying good night, everyone. Thank you, much love. If you're leaving us, Alison, thanks for support, and thanks for helping us tonight. Thank you. That's one of our moderators, so that's good. Go on, Liz.
Last one on my list, on this particular list here, is from David Barker. In all the years you've been researching, Tom, what is your best report and experience that you've had?
I get asked that a lot, and I can remember. I've had so many. Probably. There's so many, but I think probably well, back when I did UFO tours, I had 6 people in the car. We were coming out, and they were all witnesses. But his son was sitting next to me, and we wouldn't have seen it if his son hadn't seen it. But there was another UFO tour group a few miles away, and it flew right over them. And he said, look, look, look. So there was this, we looked to the left, and this thing, it was 20 feet. It was an alien spacecraft. And so we all jumped out, and literally I could have thrown a tennis ball and hit it. It was that close. And it was orange, and it floated like a feather. That's what blew me away. It didn't make any sound. It floated like a feather. No sound whatsoever. But it was orange. It was about 40 feet across. It was disc shaped, and it had big orange spheres inside of it. And of course, we had all of our cameras put away. But I managed to get my Sony out, my camera out, and I filmed it, and it turned white, and it went way up in the sky, a couple thousand feet up, and it came down and landed. You could see it going behind trees, and then I think it shot off. It just disappeared. It didn't stay there. It just shot off. But yeah, that would have to be. I probably got about a dozen that are in that same category. I've experienced over the years.
Okay, thank you. Have you done with questions for a moment, Les? Is that it?
Yeah, well,
because I mean, I could be wrong here, Tom. So you said the word feather. Am I right in thinking that you saw a huge white feather?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, see, this is the stuff that's awful hard to explain. Linda Bradshaw and I were. We would just walk around and just take pictures with 35 millimeter. Just walk around, over our head, behind us, whatever. And then the next day we didn't have the money to develop the prints, but we developed the negatives and then look on a light, fluorescent light, to see what was on the negatives. And so one night, and this didn't show up on the film, but Linda and I both. It's almost impossible for that to happen. We both flashed cameras. She was about 10 feet away from us, and we both saw it. And we used to say this all the time. Thank God you saw it, Linda. I think I would be, otherwise I think I was insane. We used to say that a lot. You saw it too. You saw it too, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, there's this feather. It was about, I'd say 15 feet, a white feather, huge, 4 feet across. In front of us, but it didn't show up on the film, and that happened. Sometimes it would show up on the film, and sometimes it wouldn't. I mean, we could see it, and
so but anyway, because Linda saw it, she's asking you, you've seen it.
Yeah. You'd say, I would say, Linda, did you see that? And I wouldn't say what, and she said, she would say, yeah, a white feather, and what a white feather? Why? What sense does that make? I mean, do we create it with our minds? Stuff like that we never knew.
What about when you were on Bradshaw Ranch then, Tom? Did you see shadows of people, dark shadows, shapes of people?
Yeah.
I know people are keen to say shadow beings, and that's too easy to say. But what did you make of that? Were they around you, or were they just on your peripheral?
No, they probably were shadow beings. I mean, that's the term I would use, the shadow beings. Yeah, we could out of the corner of your eye, you could see somebody walking. So we're surrounded because my ability, my remote viewing ability, we're surrounded by beings we don't see, but they can see us. We're surrounded by them. How much time we got? There's one more thing I want to talk about.
Well, we've got 8 minutes.
8 minutes. Okay, real quick.
No, you just fire away.
Yeah, I was on Coast to Coast a little while ago, and I've been on Coast to Coast a number of times. But anyway, I said, no, I'm going to talk about this. It was Connie Willis. Connie and I are really good friends. And I said, no, I'm going to talk about this. So I remote viewed. I've been able to remote about 200,000 or 300,000 people disappear every year. Where do they go? So I try to find them. I've tried to find them. And I get blocked every time. So I was the missing 411, David Paulides. He gave the location of a deer hunter that disappeared. So I was able to track him. And so I followed his trail, and he'd never been seen since. He disappeared that night. So I got to a point where a voice said, this is as far as you're going to go. I was going real fast, and something slammed on my brakes. And then there was a wall. And I learned how to get, long story, but there was a wall there. And I know how to get by them. I know how to get through them. long story, but so anyway, the voice said, "Don't even think about it." So whatever's on the other side of that wall was probably more horrible or more wonderful than we could possibly imagine. And it was, I know now it was a little of both. So
did you say then more horrible or more wonderful?
Yeah, no, I didn't, because I didn't know. I really didn't know.
Right. So what do you? We're only surmising. What do you think we're on the other side of that?
Yeah, it's well. Okay, back in the 20s, what's his name? He said we're the prison planet. Somebody's heard of cattle, and I can't remember his name now. I talk about him all the time. 1920s.
Yeah.
So we're a little bit of both. We are somebody's herd of cattle, and this is a prison planet. So it combines. Yeah. But that's why I want to teach remote viewing, because people got to know this stuff on their own.
Okay.
Yeah.
So well, thanks for that. Okay, then what about missing time? Have you ever experienced missing time?
No, I haven't, but I know plenty of people that have. No, I watch my clock like by the second. No, I never have had missing time, but maybe in my sleep.
I'm just kind of hitting you with a few things that I don't mean we're experiencing, but I've been experiencing location that we spend a lot of time in. So what about then? You're on the Bradshaw Ranch, and you and the ladies, do you say Linda, both become aware of a huge flash of light that lights the land up like daylight for a second or a blink. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, that was happening around here a lot about 30 years ago. In fact, a friend of mine, he had to be at work at, I don't know, 8 o'clock in the morning, something like that. But he now this is kind of typical. So everything was lit up like the sun was up. And so he's running around because he's 3 hours late for work, right? So he's on the way out. He looks at the clock, and it was 4 o'clock in the morning. So he went outside and looked up, and there was something that was so bright it lit up this entire valley, the Verde Valley, huge, and it was sun bright. And that's happened 4 or 5 times, but it hasn't been seen in 20 years now.
Yeah, because we are actually, I wouldn't say only just experiencing it. There's a lot of reports of that, but it's accompanied by missing time in many instances. Andrew Collins. I know Andrew very well. We're good friends.
Yeah, I sat with him one time. We matched wits, the stuff that happened, and it's really a pleasure to meet somebody that knows, kind of knows as much or more than you do. So I really enjoyed Andrew Collins. He's really an in-tune guy.
Yeah, we spent a bit of time up on this location with me on numerous occasions, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And he's in tune. He's all over the world at the moment with History Channel, isn't he? And Ancient Aliens, which is good. And we're just about drawing in now. I'll just bring Les in for a moment, just in case there's another question before we close this down, Les. And I can see Les there. There he is. And it's been great talking to you, Tom. I really appreciate you giving us, well, not just 1 hour of your time, 2 hours. So, and we only originally planned on 1. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's been a great show and some great questions, as you said earlier, Tom, from our very knowledgeable people on the stream there. I've got a question in, and it will have to be a pretty quick fire question, quick answer to this one, Tom. Welcome to the show. Is there any verifiable data that psychic institutes that are credible that is certified?
Oh, I can't answer that because I really don't know. Verifiable is a tough one. There's
one man's proof is another man's. It's not proof.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So no, that's a tough one.
We can go up onto cliff tops. I'm just not quite on point here, but somebody can look at a satellite and they'll think it's an alien spacecraft. So so it is a tough one, but thanks for the question. Yeah,
good question.
Yeah, brilliant. And I've got to say at this stage, thanks for the monetary donations tonight from TA, Joe, and Lee Prendergast. Thank you very much for that. And yes, excellent show, and we are at the top of the show. We've finished.
Excellent. And thank you, Tom. Thank you, Les. And thanks,
Tom.
everyone, for contributing and supporting us tonight. Thank you, guys.
And we'll see you all, as Paul said, we'll see you all on Sunday.
And last transmission Tuesday.
And thank you, Tom.